Welcome to Versus. This is Spencer, and today I'm going to show you a couple of games from one of my favorite designers, Mac Gerdts. On the left we have Hamburgum, with that awesome looking dude with the black hat, and on the right we've got Navegador, with another pretty awesome looking guy with his black hat. So first let's take a closer look at Hamburgum. Hamburgum is, the story behind it is you are trying to restore the city of Hamburg, or build it up after a war. So you are trying to gather resources in order to donate and build some churches. So in this game there's 6 different districts designated by different churches found in each district. St. Michael's, St. Nikolai, etc. Mostly we just go and call them the different colors. So there's like a kind of a salmon color, white, yellow, etc. Anyway, the main action selection mechanism in this game is Mac Gerdts' famous rondel. So in this case, when it's your turn to select an action, you take your pawn, if it's your first one, and you choose where you want to go. Let's say you wanted to go to dockyard. Well, then each subsequent time you choose an action, you can go up to 3 spaces for free. So you could go sugar or church or trade. If you wanted to go more than that, you have to pay extra. In this case, you have to pay points, so victory points. You'll start above 0, and then you start zipping around this rondel, choosing your different actions and whatever you want to do. So if you want to produce goods, you would choose production, or if you want to build different districts here, you can build on the board. There's different buildings that are associated with the colors. So like yellow is a brewery because there's 3 different resources, beer, sugar, and cloth. So there's different ways to get those. If you choose on the rondel, if you choose trade, you can either trade to get money based on what you produce. So you have different resources here. Or you can actually turn in money based on this kind of chart and the number of resources you purchase, and this is the cost. So if you bought 4 different resources, that would cost you $150. And this is building resources. These are lumber or pieces of wood, bricks, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's kind of cool. These are like real clay bricks made out of clay or something, I'm not sure. And then lastly you have these little bells. So you can, one of my favorite components is these bells really ring, so they're kind of cool. Anyway, that's basically Hamburgum. Not overly complex. You're mainly trying to get resources so you can buy goods, so you can donate to the church in order to score points. Now, quick overview here of Navegador. You are exploring the world. You are Portuguese explorers, and you are trying to discover new colonies, whether they be gold colonies or whether they be sugar colonies, and then you get money based on discovering them. So you might get 70 or 90, whatever they are, dollars. And then you each have your own personal mat here, your personal board, where you can either build shipyards in order to build more ships in order to navigate through the world. So you have these ships that you use to explore, that can go around and explore different areas. And you can also get cathedrals, which lets you get a larger workforce represented up here, whether you have a large workforce or not, allowing you to build maybe some buildings to manufacture or to process gold or to process sugar, or maybe you want to buy some other things here. So basically your point here is that you then can manipulate the market. So if you're selling sugar, then once you sell sugar into the market, the cost will go down, but then once someone processes sugar, the cost will go back up. that's kind of a brief overview of both games. Except one thing I did fail to note here is the main action selection is, again, this rondel, similar as you saw in Hamburgum, where you are selecting different actions, and based on what you select, you can then go up to 3 spaces further. But if you go further than that, you have to pay extra. So if I was on market and I wanted to go to market again, there's 2 spaces for market, then I have to pay, because it's more than 3 spaces, I would have to pay, in this case, you pay ships. So for each space more than 3, you have to give up one of your ships. As you can see, that's kind of a similarity, is the rondel itself, action selection. Now, the actions are not similar exactly. There's also, ways to trade or get money or build things and get resources, but they're not one-to-one. If you had both games, because the rondels are different in such a way, then it's okay to have both. I think they're different enough. The biggest difference that I see in Hamburgum and in Navegador is the market. Hamburgum has a fixed market where, depending on how many resources you bought, if you bought 8 resources, then you're always going to pay $410. And it's kind of similar at any point in the game. Whereas in Navegador, or Navigator, I don't know, you can manipulate the market more, where the costs for each resource is going to go up or down depending on how much it's been produced. So if you see other players processing a lot or selling a lot of gold into the market, then the cost will go down, meaning if you process gold, they will only be getting $30, whereas you could get $60, which I guess would drive the price back up, but it's kind of this ebb and flow that's found there on the market, which in my mind makes it more interesting. Both games are really fantastic. They're excellently designed. They flow well. They don't have a lot of interaction. Neither game has too much interaction. I mean, you can maybe donate to a church in Hamburgum before someone else gets to, or maybe in Navegador, you're going to take an action and discover a new area before they can. But that interaction is kind of superficial. It is mostly indirect, which is fine in my experience. However, I think this whole idea, there's a couple of reasons why I prefer Navigator. And one is just the scale of the exploration here interests me. We have this large world that's shown, and you're sailing around discovering places, which I think is really interesting. The scale here in Hamburgum is a bit smaller. It's just this one town, and to me it's a little more rote, where you're just going through and donating to the church. Still a really good game, which I enjoy quite a bit. It's a bit more simple. I would consider this easier to introduce to maybe a player who's more new, whereas Navigator, still not as overly complex, but still something I would probably wait. I would introduce Navegador or Hamburgum before I introduced Navegador. In general, both are great games. I enjoy them quite a bit, and I would recommend both, but if I had to pick one, I would say Navigator's my favorite. Anyway, that's a quick overview. Hopefully that helps someone who's trying to compare the two, and hope you enjoyed it.